Thanks for joining the Golf Underground. Now, the Golf Underground is made possible by Mariner Wealth, helping you navigate your financial future. Star Companies KC. Experience a more energy efficient and comfortable home with Star's insulation services. Cowell Insurance, providing brokerage and risk management services for over 25 years. Sana Orthopedics, care plans backed by research and clinical results, tailored perfectly to individuals' needs. Bobsite Ford and Bobsite Independence Kia, where you'll score a double eagle on your next car or truck. Sheridan's Unforked, eating good and feeling good. Lewisburg Ford, nobody sells more F-150s than Lewisburg Ford. And Celebrity Greens, put a custom PGA caliber putting green in your backyard for the ultimate golf experience. Now, on to the program.
ESPN Kansas City presents Golf Underground with Kevin Ward and Bryan Sullivan.
Hey, welcome to Golf Underground ESPN Radio. Back in the stable here during the holiday season. And happy Hanukkah to you. Happy Kwanzaa to you, George.
Thank you.
And he is a white Irish Catholic Christian boy. We'll be celebrating our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ coming into the world. Having said that, today we're going to get you a cocktail. We got a high noon going. And we've got a Kansas Hall of Fame golfer in the building today. Now, Now, I know you guys, you hang out with the highbrows. You know, it's one of the nice things you've done for me in my life, and I think in 2021, and I can't thank you enough, is for allowing bad golfers to hang out with good golfers. And today was no different, because you brought in someone who's even got more accolades here in the Midwest than Wardo, and that's really hard to do.
I did not bring Bryan in. Kevin did all the work.
Yeah, baby. I've been trying to corral this guy for years.
And what is there, 2 guys or 3 guys that have won the Kansas and the Missouri in the same year?
I'm not sure.
You're one of maybe 2? Is it maybe 2. John Sherman and you?
I think either Sherman or did Tom Watson maybe do it or no?
He never won the Kansas. He won the Missouri.
That's right.
4 or 5
Tiger
times.
Woods ever do it?
You know what? He doesn't remember
Did Tiger
this,
ever
he
do it?
steamrollered me in the Kansas quarterfinals that year. He won the Kansas. And
I remember the match. I was extremely nervous to play you, and you just didn't have your A game, and fortunately I played decent. But yeah, you're one of the best. And Gary and I, when Gary was caddying for me actually that week, he was like, "All right, we gotta have our A game against this guy." So
wait a second. So
I think it's the worst I've lost a match.
What year was that? What year was that?
2004.
So you were how old?
So I was 44.
44, and how old were you?
21, 22.
22. Okay.
So, and the year before, I'd been finalist in the U.S. Mid-Am. I'd been medalist in the British Mid-Am, and semifinalist in the Kansas Am. And I played him, and it was like literally to this day the worst I've ever lost a match. I think he beat me 6-5.
And it was an 18-hole match?
At Shadow Glen in the quarters.
Who was your caddy?
My caddy was
Shriver.
Yeah, Peter.
No,
Peter
I'm giving all the kudos to Woody for caddying for Wardo.
Man,
I guarantee you, Woody was talking him through it. Okay, come on.
You got a lot of star power there, baby.
Exactly.
Gary, when he caddies, and that's why he's probably not a caddy, he looked like Jerry Tarkanian biting the wet towel for the entire match. There's like dozens of pictures out there of him biting the towel. And so that's about all I remember of a lot of those matches is looking over at him and he's just biting the towel.
Okay, so that was at Shadow Glen?
Yeah, so like 2 years later, or the next year, 05 or 06, Gary won his first Kansas Am, and he beat me in the quarterfinals that year too.
Was it Colbert?
At Colbert.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he on 7 and then 10, there's 620-yard par 5s. He hit driver 4-iron on one of them, on driver 3-iron on the other, and I hit driver 3-wood wedge.
Amazing. Crazy.
All right, so let's give you a formal introduction. Because this was a big year for you. Your culmination of your career ended up being the legendary Hall of Fame Kansas guy. So you went to Oral Roberts University, grew up a country boy in Salina, and then along the way you ended up playing guys like Gary Woodland, Kevin Ward. Yeah. You won all sorts of championships. You're over, and some of these foursomes that you've played with, the Hale Irwins of the world and the
Ballesteros, you name it.
You've had some. I mean, what a good ride you have. So when you sat up there at the podium with a bunch of old guys praising you there at the country club, I mean, how'd it feel, honestly? Because we all love golf, but you got to really do it and do it around some of the best.
Yeah. So what was really fun about that night is all the surprises. I had no idea that Selena. So we have a new executive director of the Kansas Golf Foundation, and so she's full-time employed, salaried person. And Phil Miller had always run it in the past, who's a name that Kevin and George and Johnny know, but Selena put so much effort into this thing, and she got videos. She got videos of Johnny's sister from Australia, my daughter Danielle. I had no idea that was coming. I had no idea that he'd gotten my college teammates and my college coach on video, Jimmy Dunn from Seminole. So I'm sitting there. I don't have a pen because now I got to change everything I'm going to say because they're lobbing shitballs at me like throughout these videos. And I'm like, well, I got to address that and I got to do that. And so it actually was kind of fun. It took some of the nervousness away as soon as all this stuff was coming, and it kind of got me away from just kind of having some rote speech, and I just changed it on the fly, and it went great. It just turned into a fun little laugh fest, basically.
I think when you come to Mission Hills and you play next summer, no one's going to call you Bryan. We're all going to call you Torchy.
It was funny. I played the senior U.S. Open at Oak Tree in 2015. Swear to God, this is a true story. And I'm playing on the back nine the first day, and Willie Wood lives on the back nine, and he's one of the first guys that ever called me Torch. He might have been the one that actually came up with the nickname, but he comes to the back fence of his house, and I'm like 100 yards from there playing this hole, and he's just in boxer shorts. There's a gallery and everything. He starts screaming, "Hey, Torch, how you playing? How are the greens rolling? I'm playing this afternoon. Like, give me a heads up. What's going on?" I look over, and here's a guy, no shirt on, and just boxer shorts, screaming Torch at me. It was just classic Willie Wood.
Where'd the name come from?
So, So I lit a fire when I was in college and got kicked out of school for a week.
Nice.
And so there's a little bit more to the story, but
we've got time, and this is a podcast, so you could say, "Give us the scoop."
It was kind of funny because I did go into the Oral Roberts Hall of Fame right around 10 or 15 years ago. Johnny was pretty young, so we went down to Tulsa, and I had a bunch of family come up from Dallas too, and I had to go back to the spot. So here's what happened: we'd been out drinking, and we came back to the dorm. It's about 1 a.m, and there were these boxes sitting in one of those, hard plastic trash cans sitting up on stilts. And I just made a bet with a guy how fast the trash can would melt if I lit the boxes on fire. And sure enough, man, this thing went woof. And then all this hard plastic just melted on the sidewalk. And I wanted to go back and see if it was still on the sidewalk, 30 years later. And sure enough, there's a big stain on the sidewalk still from where that plastic tub just kind of melted right across the sidewalk.
See, that's funny. See, that's good.
I just thought it was funny.
Aren't you proud of your pops? Right? He was cool back in the day. Look, he's still cool. I saw him at Prime Social last week. We're having a nice dinner there at the bar with Scavi, having a great time. And up.
Here comes the legend.
He said, "Hey, he's our guest next week." I'm like, "Well, of course he is. Look at him."
Amazing. Well, let's back up. Okay, you go to Oral Roberts, and then walk us through. Obviously, you finished second at the NCAA's.
My
senior year.
The team did, yeah.
So then you turned pro. Talk us through playing professionally and what that was like, and playing all over the globe.
Yeah, I tell you, my biggest passion, I just wanted to see the globe as much as anything. Ever since I was a little kid, growing up in a little town, small town, I really wanted to see the whole world. So it actually worked out perfect for me because I played in Asia for a while, and then I played 5 years on the European Tour, and then came back and played the PGA Tour at the end. And so I got to see kind of a little bit of everywhere, which was just a huge passion of mine. But yeah, so in college, for a couple of years, it didn't look like I'd ever be good enough to turn pro. And the last 2 years, I got a lot better, and so it kind of made sense to give it a shot. And so I turned pro at the end of '82, and it was only the PGA Tour back then. There really wasn't anything else. There wasn't a secondary tour. And so it was kind of like you're either in the big leagues or you're in single A ball. There was just nothing close to the tour until the European Tour in the late '80s started getting better. But anyway, so I bounced around for 3 years, couldn't latch on to the PGA Tour. And then thankfully, at the end of that period, right then is when the Europeans started winning the Ryder Cup. And that just really made that tour grow fast. And they had Seve and all these kind of best in the world stars. I mean, those guys, you know, when you have Faldo and Seve and Langer and Woozy and Olazabal and Sandy Lyle was a huge star at the time. I mean, that was a formidable Ryder Cup team, and it just jacked up the purses over there. So at the end of '86, I entered both Q schools, and I made it over there. And so I stayed over there for 5 years.
And those are the guys you played against in weekly tournaments.
Yep.
Woosman, all those guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
All those guys. And
what was your best finish over there with those guys?
Second. So I had a second place finish and a third and a fifth. Those were my best in my 5 years. I mean, Chase is already kind of laughed at me. He's doing so good over there.
So
I thought
awesome.
it was pretty good at the time, but absolutely loved. Those are some of my favorite memories.
What kind of Seve stories do you have? I know you've told us a couple over the years, but just running into him and either seeing him play or being around him on the practice facilities.
Yeah. One of my favorite run-ins was Seve. I actually just thought he was the greatest guy. He was super entertaining, great for golf. He was kind of their Arnold Palmer, but he was really feisty too. But he was super curious about what you were working on. He'd walk up and down the range and just ask everybody that was hitting balls what they were trying to do. And so this one day, I'm practicing at the Monte Carlo Open. So cool venue, Monaco. And so I'm on this range, and I was working with a guy in England named Dennis Pugh, who's a great teacher. He worked with all the best guys over there. He was Ledbetter's kind of right-hand guy.
Okay.
And so anyway, he said on my backswing, he said, your right arm's collapsing a little quick, and so I want you to get more extension. I want you to feel like your right arm's working away from you. So I want you to go buy a little floaty that you put on an infant in a swimming pool. And he said, put it right over your right elbow. And so that'll keep that elbow from collapsing on your backswing, folding too quick. And so I'm on the range in Monaco hitting balls with a floaty on my right elbow. And Seve kind of walks by. I can hear him coming, I'm going, oh, God, he's going to ask me what I'm working on, And so sure enough, he does, and, kind of pretty good English, but Seve English, And I told him, I had way too serious an answer. I told him exactly what I was working on. He looked at me and just started laughing. He goes, no. And he just worked out his way on down the range. So that was probably my funniest run-in with him. But I got paired with him one time, and Wardo, you've probably heard this story, but it's just one of my favorite days in golf. And the very first hole of the day, it was one of those really hard, kind of a par 5 converted into a par 4 for a Pro Tour event. And so it's this uphill 500-yard par 4, and I was able to hit it on the green in 2. I was so nervous, but I hit it on the green in 2, and I had like a 40-foot putt for birdie. And Seve was down the hill, couldn't see the pin or anything, and I'm sitting there going, man, he's got a hard shot. So half the time I play with him, I spectated because he's so entertaining with his short game. And so I kind of walked over to his side of the green to see what he had. And at the same time, I'm kind of looking at my 40-foot putt like, okay, where do I want to leave my 2-footer, when I don't make it? And I watched him, and all of a sudden I realized he was looking at his what I thought was impossible chip shot from down the hill where he couldn't see anything. The same way I was looking at my 40-foot putt. It's kind of like, I probably won't make this. What 2-footer do I want to leave myself with? And all of a sudden I realized he thought he can kind of make this thing or get it up there 2 feet from the hole, and he did. And it was that way all day long. And I thought he beat me. I actually have a tour handbook, and I beat him by a shot that day. I played good, and he had 5 penalty shots, which it's hard to have penalty shots on tour. It's hard to lose balls on tour if you have a big gallery. And he lost a ball on one hole. He hit it out of bounds on a hole that would be the equivalent of hitting it out of bounds off the first tee at Mission Hills. It was across another fairway out of bounds.
Wow.
And he was screaming at his caddy, who was his brother Manuel, who was his teacher the whole time. And it was the year Faldo won his first Masters. And I've always heard the story about Seve that he blames Faldo for, him losing his golf swings because he started trying to tinker with his swing because Faldo became the best player in Europe. He actually blames Ray Floyd because Scott Hoke rather, because Scott Hoke missed the 18-incher that allowed Faldo to win.
Yeah.
And so to this day, he goes, well, before he died, he'd say Scott Hoke.
Wow.
That was the reason I became not the
Well, and you were talking about, Chase, who we had in here, who's the younger version of you, right? He's living it. And it's interesting that you just said, I wanted to travel, right? So Was that the coolest part of it, going to these different towns? I mean, you think of what Chase told us. He was all over the map. And he, what a
Still
young
is,
guy,
yeah.
and the experiences he's getting, the memories, the friendships, Sevy stories, right? But just meeting someone at a pub.
Yeah.
So how cool was that? And where were some of the places you went that you have memories for a lifetime with?
Well, a good example is in Monaco. A lot of people don't know this, but the U.S. is their de facto defense department. We have a strategic agreement with Monaco that we will provide them defense if they'll let us use their port, because it's dead in the middle of the Mediterranean. It's halfway from Gibraltar to Israel. And so anyway, the tournament was always over July 4th, and they would have this reception for the American players in the tournament, and they would invite the officers on these giant aircraft carriers, because they'd come in, the servicemen would go party in Monaco, and the officers would go to this party. One year, the party was in the palace. So I got to go to the palace. I still have the invitation at my house framed. And, they pick you up in a limo. A protocol officer tells you what to do and what not to do. And you walk in, and the only people there were some of the celebrities that live in Monaco, like Sevy lived in Monaco at the time because it's a tax haven. So Sevy was there. A few other people, Bjorn Borg, I think, was there because he lived in Monaco. And then, these admirals on these aircraft carriers and us American golfers. And so stuff like that was just so cool. Go through a receiving line, meet Stephanie and Caroline and, the whole royal family and stuff like that.
You just
Caroline hit on you at all?
No, but
Damn it.
that was the other funny part of the story. The first guy, the guy right in front of me was in line. He's from Tupelo, Mississippi. Chris Cookson. He had a big dip in. And as soon as he got to to Caroline, who was first, Stephanie was first in line. She was young, and she was in this smoking hot dress with a neckline that went like that, and he kind of checked her out like this, when he was getting ready to greet her, and she put her arms behind her back, which signaled all the officers to stop the line, and I never got to go through the line because Chris Cookson was a stupid redneck.
He's got a balm in his lip.
Oh my God! And his wife, who was so cute, she was like, "Chris, what are you thinking, you hillbilly from Tupelo?" And he goes, "You dress like that, I'm going to check you out like that, woman." It was typical American.
Did he not? Did he take the dip out before he went up? Or was he?
No, he had the dip in. Nice. He was trying to. He wasn't spitting, but he had the dip in.
It's American,
It's
right?
American. All the Americans do.
Oh yeah.
So talk a little bit about how European Tour and the grit and the way those guys play golf and what made them so great for all those years, and they're still great. But what's the difference in the way they play?
And the game's different now. It's such a power game and fitness game and stuff and all the things you're teaching. But back then it was a shot maker's game. And what made it just great playing over there and what made their players great were the ground's a lot firmer. And so you have to shape the ball against crosswinds. You can't just hit your shot all day long. It won't. The ball will run into the weeds on the other side. You've got to get a ball to kick straight. And so you can't get a ball to kick straight in the left or right wind if you hit a cut. Mm-hmm. So it was just so fun to play golf where you have to hit shots. Mm-hmm. And you played along the ground more when you play links golf. But even when you're on the continent not playing links golf, the ground was just so much firmer. And you had to really be a shot maker. And so that made it really fun. And it made the scores not quite as low. And so it was just pars were good. You shot 3 or 4 under. It was a really good round. And so I thought it created an advantage. Once they realized that they were as talented as us, I think it gave them a little bit of an advantage. And so the PGA Tour started changing things. That's when they started firming the fairways on the PGA Tour. And when you watch on TV, you'll see the ball roll 30 and 40 yards.
Oh, it's crazy.
And part of it is they're trying to make them hit the fairway. And, landing the ball in the fairway, it'll run in the rough if you're not, landing it in the right place. So that's what it was like over there, and I thought that was a big advantage.
So give us the inside scoop on Sir Nick. What did people think, right? Because he got this perception. He's Sir. First of all, I'm so kind of sick of hearing Sir Nick. Come on. You're a freaking regular guy, crying out loud. I mean, is he a little stiff?
If we weren't being recorded, I'd maybe say
that's
a little
what we
different.
want. Shut the bank door vault, please.
Yeah, I really did. I was paired with him one time. I thought he was brutal to play golf with.
Keep going.
He wouldn't talk to you. If you asked him a question, he'd give you a one-word answer. It's like you didn't exist. It was really weird. And I played with all the biggest names in the world, and he was the only one where I walked away and I go, that guy's just a dick. You know? And so it was, I didn't know. And it was really weird too, because he, you know, I loved his intensity, and I was actually a big fan because I just admired how good he was. But playing with him, I just didn't understand why he couldn't carry on a conversation.
When he didn't Norman have a huge lead in the Masters one year? And he was playing with him the final round.
Yeah.
And I was playing in a golf tournament for a company. It was the final round, and I was playing in a golf tournament at in Arizona, and all of a sudden the guy's going, "Oh my God, Faldo's only 3 shots back. He's 2 shots back." And then afterwards, I read an article where Norman was a real fast player, and Faldo just played so slow. And God, is that true? Or do golfers do that?
Here's the only thing I can tell you. Faldo was in Norman's head. And because
from the get-go.
Yeah. So that was 96. I'll never forget. I played in the 90 British Open. So it was at the old course. And I finished my Saturday round. I had a really nice round on Saturday. I shot 68. I was very excited. And swear to God, when I walked off the 18th green and the first tee are part of the same little complex. And Faldo and Norman were leading after 36 holes, and they were paired together, and they were just about to tee off on number 1. So I just went and sat on the little wall next to the first tee and watched them play. And the body language was unbelievable. You know, Faldo's a much bigger guy than Norman, which you wouldn't know that unless you've been alongside both
Faldo's
of them.
huge.
But the body language, Norman Faldo was big, and you could tell he was ready for a scrap, and Norman looked like he was in over his head. He just did. He looked intimidated, and Faldo beat him by 9 shots that day. Wow. Norman shot 76, and Faldo shot 67, and moved out. And they both had shot 12 under the first 2 rounds. I mean, they had run away from the field.
So is there something, and I think I know the answer to this, but is obviously Tiger in his heyday in terms of minimal talking to the competition, the media, whatever. Obviously Faldo had a little bit of that in him. Is that part of what made him so great?
Yes, I think so. He made you very uncomfortable. And clearly Tiger made people in his day, just his presence made people uncomfortable. And like I said, I have so much respect for Nick, but it was uncomfortable to play golf with that guy.
Yeah.
And he just had a presence about him, and good for him. And he was super intense. He was a very short hitter. He's a big guy. He's 6'3.5", 6'4", big shoulders.
Huge.
But a short hitter. But, man, that guy was – you talk about a shot maker. That guy – there were 3 or 4 guys I played with that were just so much better than anybody else I ever played with. And Watson, I played with Watson in a PGA Tour event, and he was that way, and Faldo was that way. And Tom Kite, believe it or not, I played with him in the LA Open one year, and I just thought, that guy has every shot, every shot that gives you an advantage in golf. Most guys kind of hit their shot all day long, even the best players, and those guys could hit whatever shot gave you the biggest advantage on that particular swing.
Unbelievable.
And it was so fun to watch them just work their way around a golf
So
course.
when you say Faldo was a short hitter, I mean, how far did he hit a drive back then?
240.
240, and what was the average on tour?
So maybe it's 250, and the average was 260.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't
But he's
carry
bigger
that
than
far.
a lot of guys, too.
I know, and he won 3 Masters. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't think a guy that wasn't a long hitter would win, those Masters. But it was just super impressive, And maybe I'm off. Maybe he was just dead average. But just when you would get around him and see his size and he was fit too, you just thought, man, you think that guy would smash it. But he didn't. That wasn't his game.
Did other people on tour think he was a dick?
Yes, I mean, everybody talks about it. and
You get there and you go, oh, you're playing with Nick today.
You got him.
you're
You
Nicky
drew him.
Faldo today.
It's like playing with Johnny or something. Oh, you got Johnny today.
He's a good broadcaster, but I mean, you can pick up stuff. And I remember one time they were like, it was like at the Masters, and it was after the round and all the talking heads. And so you got Frank Noble on there, and you got Ian Baker Finch and Nick and all these guys. And at one point, Ian was making a point that Nick didn't agree with. And at some point, Nick goes, well, that's why you only won one major.
Did he really?
He's just like, that's the Nick Faldo. I know right there. He just came out,
Amazing.
So,
I like the guy.
You like the guy?
That makes one of you.
You don't like show-offs. You don't like arrogance.
He's not
What
a
do you
show
mean?
off. I just like him. I think he's a good broadcaster.
He is a good broadcaster. Yeah. I totally agree.
I
with
never
that.
played golf with him.
Until he
Think I could get in his head playing golf with him?
Yes.
No, I could.
You'd make him ride in a cart with you.
Yeah. That's the kiss of
done
death.
before.
You ride in the car with me, you're going to lose.
No chance.
Right, Johnny?
Or no, if he's hitting his shot on the first hole and he's getting over it, George would be up on the fringe on the first green. I mean, uncomfortable fast.
All right, let's do this. Let's take a commercial break. We come back. We've been remiss because you have your son sitting next to you.
Co-champion.
Brokered by George Brett himself.
Brokered by
Johnny
George
lived at my
Brett.
house when he was a kid, didn't
Yes,
he?
he did.
He'd come over Friday after school and go home Sunday for dinner.
All Johnny's got at home is sisters, and what he had at your house was brothers.
Yeah.
We had not a bunch of brothers.
Yeah.
And 5 urinals.
Yeah.
And they were older sisters, too.
And a cooler full of Coors Light, too.
Yes.
Smart job. All right, come on back. We're with Bryan Norton, Kansas U.S. champ, and way more on the Golf Underground ESPN Radio. Hey, Bryan Sullivan here, and I've got a tip for you. You've got to head to Unforked. It's an amazing restaurant. What I like about these guys is they promise to buy and support seasonal, local ingredients first. And I love the fact that they source from smaller, family, GAP certified, or organic farms, prime-going regions, artists, and producers. All I'm getting at is, if you like fresh stuff, Unforked is the place to be. And like they say, fork or no fork, you can be sure you're getting the highest quality, socially responsible ingredients possible. And not to mention, it's delicious. So whether you're out south or downtown, stop by Unforked for a delicious and healthy meal. Sheridan's Unforked. Honest, clean food.
Cowell Insurance Services is your leading program administrator for workers' compensation. They're dedicated to meeting the unique challenges of the insurance industry and assisting employers in reducing their costs. CIS has provided insurance claim and loss control services to various industries, including trucking, construction, retail convenience stores, and healthcare, as well as public entities for over 30 years. They work with both retail agents and industry clients, or a combination of the two. If you're tired of fighting the rising costs of premiums and claims, give Cowell Insurance Services a call. Their dedicated staff is ready to find you the best insurance option at the most competitive price. They can help to define or enhance your safety program in order to move you in the right direction in reducing your claim and premium costs. Contact Cowell Insurance Services today, 816-214-4070.
Hey, Bryan Sullivan from the Golf Underground here with a little good news. And that good news is that even double-digit handicappers like me can occasionally make a double eagle. All right, maybe not on a golf course, but even guys like me can score when buying a new car or truck. I'm talking about 2 stores, 2 brothers, and 4 generations, treating customers just like family. I'm talking about our buddies at Bobsite Ford and Bobsite Independence Kia. With these guys, you'll always score 2 under, with double the inventory and double the customer satisfaction. That's the Bobsite Double Eagle. Now, Bobsite offers a wide selection of vehicles and promise to make the car buying process as quick and as hassle-free as possible. Now, whether you have poor credit, no credit, or maybe a first-time car buyer, you can trust Bobsite Ford, and Bobsite Independence Kia will get you into the car or truck you choose with professionalism and attention to your needs. So go visit our buddies at bobsite.com, but only if you're looking for a vehicle that makes you feel like a U.S. Open champion.
Is a bloom shoots up through the stony ground. There's no room.
Welcome back, Golf Underground ESPN Radio. Back in the stable, George, Wardo, Chase Hanna even came back to visit us. By the way, Wardo, I want to thank you for putting on an amazing Thursday night Christmas party event. Right? Was that fun, George?
I had a blast.
And we
I
had
was
to get
here
George
at
out
the
of the
beginning.
house.
I was here at the beginning, and then I had 16 people at my house. And then when the
Shocker.
last person
Shocker.
left, I came back and watched the overtime victory for the Chiefs.
It was
I
outstanding.
mean, they stole that game. And I was texting with Scavron, who's Ricky's caddy, who's a huge Chargers fan. And I just texted him the next day. I said, we had no business winning that game. You know, we stole one. Totally still won.
No. Well, and I only wish, looking back on it, that you got your booster shot before the Christmas party because you're a little out today.
I was looking forward to a nice,
with the booster.
you know, the missus over here. She was just last night at dinner, family dinner. Just we got to get the booster. We got to get the booster. So I called my good friend Ronnie Chan over at Advent Health, and he got us right in today, and we're dialed. But I'm starting to feel the.
Well, look how quiet Turtle is.
I know.
She's just over there to producing and pressing the buttons.
Just look at the size of that. Look at the size of that ring, too.
Size
Oh
of that
my
ice.
God. It's like a doorknob.
Oh my God.
Why do you got a doorknob on the outside of your fist, Turtle? Jesus.
All right. Well, welcome back. We're with Bryan Norton, one of Kansas City's finest golfers. Certainly, to get into the Kansas Hall of Fame, it is a
Huge.
big deal.
Awesome.
To spend the memories you got. I mean, it's just fun. Let's be honest. A lot of regular guys like me look at someone who had a chance to travel, play with great names, build a resume of amazing laughs and memories. And I think it's really cool that we all watched the YouTube video of your ceremony. And it is great when you have your old coaches and your old friends. And the great thing is you're not even dead yet. So it's like a eulogy at a funeral, but you get to watch it.
Yeah, right.
Right? And, of course, you got your boy who's been part of the journey with you. You guys played a lot of little events together. And so let's pass that mic up. Big. So tell us about some of the memories growing up, the golf memories, the father-son trips, because you guys you won some things along the way.
Yeah, we played 3 Kansas father-sons, and we won all 3 of them.
Did you really?
In a row.
Did you really?
So, yeah.
Undefeated, baby.
Yeah, and then I think the run kind of ended when he had a tournament at Seminole, and we haven't been able to play in it again, but it was obviously a ton of fun. And the first one came when I was coming off of like a bad injury. I had zero confidence. That's where the story from Lawrence Country Club came. I had just been injured that junior year, and so that was the first tournament I'd played in. It was like July, something like that. And so that's where the beers came in.
He got injured in March, so he literally hadn't played golf in 4 months.
Yeah.
So were you
So
not?
you carried him the first 5 holes, and you're scrapping around par. You're going, God, Johnny, I need some help. Come on, let's go. And he says, hey, by the way, you're 17 years old.
Yep.
He says, maybe if I got you a couple beers, you think that would help? And you said, yeah, I think it would. And Brian says, well, you're not going to tell your mother, are you?
Never.
That's what he said at the thing, right? Yeah. And you said, no, I'm not. He said, okay. And then you started striping it.
Yeah. And then what's funny is the next year, we go to Tallgrass. He just wins the Kansas Am at Mission Hills.
Yeah.
Next week is this father-son event. First tee, he tops it, and I was like, "I've never seen you at the top."
Full top.
No way.
Into the long stuff, and I was like, "I've never seen you do that before."
Did your heart rate start pounding?
Yeah, and so luckily I stepped up and hit a pretty decent drive. I think one of us ended up making a bunch of birdies that day, but man, I was like, we're defending this title here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm expecting you to be at your top form. You just won the Kansas Am, and so luckily he obviously turned it around right
It's
away.
funny.
But
Johnny got a great dig in. As soon as we were walking off the tee, there was the starter over there, and Johnny looked at the starter and said, "Didn't he just win the Kansas Am?" And the starter just busted a gut.
Oh, my
Amazing.
God.
yeah,
Good
so
stuff.
but yeah, and it's funny, just kind of growing up with a dad like that. You always want to beat him, but I mean, he's 63 years old.
Have you ever
so-
beat him?
A few times, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a number of times where I've gotten him.
Well, you were pretty good in high school. You and I used to play a lot of
Yeah.
golf when you were really young.
Yeah.
You know, when you
Absolutely.
were really young at Mission Hills, and you never beat me. You always gagged. You outplayed me, but you always gagged.
Yeah.
He was riding in the same cart
See how
with
he
me.
slid that
oh
in
man! And I would get him. I'm saying, you can't finish. You can't finish. You know.
Yeah, I mean,
because the first time you had a good chance to beat me, you did.
Yeah.
And I tried to needle you on 17 and just make sure you knew you were one ahead of me.
kind of conditioned me a little
Yeah,
bit because there was always a lot of pressure to try to beat him growing up. And so he was, I mean, mid-50s, still kind of he just played in the 2009 U.S. Senior Open, finished 17th. So I'm like, God, if I could get a win in at some point. I played George with Robin, and I think Jackson.
Yeah, well, you know what? Jackson beat me for the first time this year.
Hey, guess what? He
We're at
texts me.
Shadow Creek.
He texts me right away and let me know.
For the Raider Chiefs game. I took all my boys out there. We played Shadow Creek, went to a Golden Knight game, went to a Raider game, and the first day we played at Shadow Creek, Jackson beat me. And he texted Wardo before we got in the limousine to go back to the hotel, and all of a sudden my phone's just blowing up.
Like, you can't play anymore. You're old. I mean, I've just roasted him the whole day.
That's a real golf course.
Yeah,
too.
it is. Well, the last hole, have you ever played there?
Once.
Last hole I hit driver 5-wood. I hit a good drive for me. He hit driver 9-iron long over the green. He outdrives me by 80 yards. When he hits
me by 30, so
when he out-hits me. Yeah, when he out-hits me. Or when he catches one good, it's unbelievable how far he hits it. So how far do you outdrive your dad by, Johnny?
40 yards, 40, 50. Kind of depends. I mean, I have a lot of different shots in my bag. Miss hit doesn't go quite as far, but when I get a good one, it can definitely get him by 40, 50 yards.
So I'm always curious. Growing up, they just had the PNC father-son on this last weekend, and, you know, they're talking about dads not pushing their sons in the game. What was your kind of entree into the game like, and did your dad give you enough instruction? Did you want more, or did you just want to be a kid?
Man, I hated it when he gave me instruction. I get so frustrated because usually meant I was playing poorly, and so I'd be even more upset because he'd be giving me pointers here and there, and I'd just get mad. I just like, no, just let me figure it out myself. Like, I'm going to find my swing. It'll be okay. But that really, really went away when I was kind of middle of high school. When I kind of stopped taking it as seriously as I thought it was. Especially after I got injured, I kind of gave up on the idea of playing in college. And then that's when I got better.
What was the injury?
Torn labrum in my shoulder. But so that kind of knocked me out of the high school season. Stopped taking it quite as seriously, and kind of just played casually and more loose.
Yeah.
And so I got a lot better. And what's interesting is I've just gotten better pretty much every year since then, and I've been playing less.
I'm recalling the torn labrum, Johnny. For some reason, that did not happen in a gym, or it did not happen in the weight room, or it didn't happen on the golf course. I think it happened when you were with a bunch of guys screwing around.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, I'm recalling that now. Did it happen at my house?
It was on spring break.
Okay.
And
What happens on spring break stays on spring break, right?
Unless it's the Golf Underground.
Yeah, exactly. It's just one
Spring
of those
break was
stories.
in
You're playing
Cabo? Was that
football.
in Cabo?
It was at
Seaside.
Seaside, yeah.
Seaside.
But yeah, it's just one of those stories. You're playing football with your buddies on the beach. I'd kind of lay out for a catch, recoil, land right on my elbow, and the bone just pops right out the back of my shoulder.
Stay hot.
So that was a fun.
You had more fun in
few
college
days.
not playing golf, though, didn't you?
I did.
KU
yeah.
was a
I
good
think
place
it was
for
the
you?
Right, it was the right move because I ended up playing like club golf for the KU team. Not anything special, but just kind of kept me into it. Had a couple good finishes. I think I got second at one of them at Deer Creek here in Kansas City, and it was like the morning after a day party too. And I woke up at like 4:30 in the morning and drove to Kansas City. But yeah,
Some of my best days on days like that.
Exactly.
Haven't you?
Did she caddy for you?
No, I couldn't convince her to do that for me.
He just met her.
He didn't know her name. Hey, what's your name again? You want to caddy? You don't remember my name?
Exactly. But yeah, so just stuff like that kind of kept me into it. And I'm definitely glad I went to KU instead of trying to play in college after not playing at all my junior year.
Hey, what'd you guys think of that PNC? Watching it this weekend, watching
Charlie
Tiger.
Woods is the real deal.
Is that unbelievable?
He's got a sweet swing.
It's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, there's like a side-by-side with his swing and Rory's swing. It's pretty identical, honestly. I mean, the way he just finishes, he has such a good pose at the end.
He's 12 for crying.
Tiger was pretty good, too.
Yeah, he's all right.
He played pretty good.
And I've never heard you say that.
No, I'm...
All right,
Well,
Norty.
so you're a Faldo fan, but you're not a Tiger fan.
No, I really respect the way he plays the game of golf.
So the game. So Bryan, let's talk about
No one will
Tiger,
even let me
right?
drive a car. You think anybody's going to let Tiger drive a car anymore? And I've never gotten in a wreck.
Why would he drive a car anyway if you got that cash? Get a driver.
So Norty, what do you?
Think that with
Right.
athletes all the time.
What did you think about Tiger's? I mean, we're 10 months from his wreck, and he's kind of playing this card of hit and giggle, and then you saw some of the stuff he had. I mean, are you kind of in shock, or are you just like, here we go again?
No, I'm in shock. And even when he came back and won the Masters, I was in shock. Because usually remember when he had like the chip yips and stuff like that? You just don't recover from stuff like that and just become great again. But what's really cool about athletes like that is they always know what it takes and they have that heart. And so you always know they have a chance to, but I was blown away when he had that big comeback, just a few years ago. And when you get around guys that know Tiger, they'll tell you nothing would surprise them.
He looked like he was in pain, though, huh?
Yeah, he was definitely on a pitch count. He only
Yeesh.
played like 12 holes one of the rounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So Charlie just did it all?
Yeah. So at some point he quit hitting.
No.
He quit hitting full shots
I didn't see all
early
of
in
it.
the round.
I didn't see it.
I read an article on it.
Unbelievable.
So,
So how do you play a scramble? Just
let Charlie
Charlie
pump it down the
play-
middle.
Putt and
I don't know
chip.
what the format was then, and he still
was
did
a
it.
scramble.
so he might have let Charlie hit first and said, "Okay, that's good enough. I can't beat it."
Yeah, I can't beat it. And he still did the short game, but he just he quit. He only had so many swings in him because Begay was talking about it in this article I read.
Yeah, which is, my God, he was limping like crazy yesterday because they were in the hunt, right? They came in second in the thing yesterday, and so he was really trying. And I'm saying, stop. We'd rather have you in the spring.
Doesn't it kind of remind you of the Ben Hogan story? Ben
Sure.
Hogan,
Yeah.
having to deal with all that kind of pain, and won majors, and obviously Tiger's 46 now, so he wasn't as young as Hogan, but Tiger's Tiger.
So how do you raise a normal kid? You watch him with the cameras on him. He's got all the swagger. He's making
He's
putts.
got every mannerism.
He's throwing
like
it.
mirroring.
I mean, if I saw him one more time pick up his ball marker and throw it, his dad's ball marker because he sank the putt like this, and I'm like, wow, that kid's unbelievable. Part of me is like, that kid's in trouble. He's going to be a little freak.
I kind of go the opposite way. I just think it's so cool that he's not running from the spotlight. That he embraces it. Because you see a lot of kids of celebrities that really struggle emotionally. I don't think Charlie's struggling at all emotionally. I think that kid's he's got swagger, and he's ready for prime time. Which so obviously they've done a great job raising him. I think.
Yeah.
Well, enough of Tiger. Back to you. So we were talking the other day, and I told this to Joe Scover, and I'm going to mess this up. But you've played in arguably more USGA, separate USGA events. And what I mean by that is you've played in the US Am, the US. Did you play Junior Am?
Yeah, I played everything but the public. So when I was a kid, I played the Junior Am. And the next thing I qualified for the US Open when I was in college. And then I qualified for US Am, US Mid Am, US State Team, US Senior Open, US Senior Am. So I played 7 different kinds of USGA events. Now they have the 4-ball.
Right.
I haven't played the 4-ball. I'm a little long in the tooth for that. And then I never was eligible for the public link. So I played every USGA event I was eligible for.
I mean,
Different
how many guys do you think have that on their resume?
Yeah, I'd be curious
0?
to know too. Yeah,
0, 1.
not many. So it's pretty cool.
We're gonna have to figure that out. Maybe Turtle will Google that. She'll be working long
Producer.
to find some producer Turtle.
Right? Quit chewing on
pretty
your
cool.
tongue right now after your booster shot. Come on, get
Real-
the research going.
But before we leave the topic of Johnny and trying to raise kids to to play a sport and stuff like that, I mean, I learned a really good lesson with Johnny, and George, I'm sure you learned it with your boys too. Just basically get out of their way. And I mean, one of the things I loved about growing up and my dad not playing golf is that I could just do it on my own, and I didn't have somebody telling me, do this, do that, like Johnny was mentioning. But I feel like I didn't do much of that with Johnny. I always felt like because I really liked that about my own dad not being in my business, I tried to stay out of his when it came to golf. But here's my funniest Johnny Norton story. When he was a senior in high school, so he didn't play his junior year because of the injury. So his senior year, I thought, okay, I've got one chance. The night before, I'm going to tell him one thing about that golf course or one thing to be thinking and blah, blah, blah. It is so funny. So about the 3rd or 4th term of the year was Albemarle. So I go talk to him the night before. I'm like, okay, whatever you do, when you get to the 17th hole, don't hit driver. It's par 5. Just don't hit driver.
Nowhere to hit it.
And so
Especially
there's nowhere
with
to hit
that
it.
late.
And you can't, Johnny doesn't know the course, blah, blah, blah. So I'm out there walking every step of the way. Get to 17. I'm about 100 yards away. The first guy gets up. First guy, if that guy hit driver, he hit it 210, right? So that guy's got the tee somehow. I have no idea how that guy had the tee. So Johnny's up second. Pulls that driver, pipes it right down the middle of the fairway, right off the top of a roof, right?
No.
Amazing.
Did you just forget?
And so, no.
Or was it
Let
just-
me finish my story. You'll love this. So Johnny puts the driver back in the bag. He's standing there, and the other guys hit. And then finally you could see some guy goes over and says, maybe you need to hit another one. So he pulls driver out, pipes it right down the middle, right off the roof of the house. I left. I never watched Johnny Norton hit another ball in high school. But I stayed. I just went up and talked to the coach the rest of the day. And so at the end of the round, Johnny walks up and he goes, you left me out there. And the first thing I could say was, well, what'd you make on 10 or 17? He goes, I made 10. And I said, Johnny, remember last night I mentioned to you that when you got to 17, he goes, Dad, we started on hole number 8. So that was just the 9th hole of the day.
What do you mean started on hole number 8? It was a shotgun?
It was a shotgun. High school golf is a shotgun.
God.
And so right then I realized
See, you go perfect.
he's Johnny Norton, I'm Bryan Norton. We're not alike.
Yeah.
He's going to play his way.
Right.
And I got nothing
Yeah.
to do here except for let him be Johnny. It was a great lesson for me.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. So the state high school, Johnny played great in the regionals. He was a low guy for East, and they won the regional. And now the state high school is at Topeka Country Club, and Washburn Rural is hands down the favorite. They just had smoked East the whole year long. And Topeka Country Club had been so good to me. I had won the state amateur there, the state senior amateur there. I won the Midwest section of the PGA there. And I love that golf course to this day. And Johnny Norton ends up winning the state high school there. He finished 5th individually, and the team won the state, and they smoked Washburn Rural. And I stayed in that clubhouse the whole time, and I knew he was playing great. I kept trying to look through the trees, but I never left the clubhouse.
Wow.
And I was so proud of him. He got to the 18th hole and drove it in the greenside bunker. He had the guts to hit driver there. It's a skinny little hole with OB just right of the green, and it's drivable. And he drove it in the greenside bunker and then hit this beautiful sand shot to like 4 feet and made it for birdie.
So
It
good.
was
Good
just
going,
so close.
Johnny.
And it was just a
Johnny.
great lesson as a dad,
Yeah.
as a parent. Let your kids be themselves.
Yeah, see, my
you know?
dad was an asshole. He really was. He was. I'd get beat if I had a bad game.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd biff you around a little bit. You embarrassed your brothers, you embarrassed me, and it took me 65 years to finally admit that my dad was a fucking asshole. And I didn't want to be like my dad.
Yeah.
So I just let the kids play.
Yeah.
I would offer them advice. If they didn't listen, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? Yeah. We would ride home from a Little League game. I swear to God, they didn't know if they won or lost 2 minutes after we got in the car.
Right.
They didn't even care. As long as they had fun playing with their buddies. That's all they wanted to do. I knew they weren't going to be pro players.
Right.
Jackson had the greatest line ever when he told the football coach at Shawnee Mission East his freshman year, Coach, don't get too excited. We got my dad's brains and my mom's athletic ability, and that's not a good combination. So, I knew none of my kids were going to ever do anything at the next level, after high school, And I just wanted them to enjoy the moment. Just enjoy. Go out and have fun. And nothing was more gratifying to me than going to high school football games, Johnny, and watching Jackson be the center and Dylan be the guard, side by side. That was so much fun.
Yeah.
And the referee one time came in the huddle and said, "What's the problem?" And Jackson turns to the referee and he says, "Hey, it's none of your business. We're brothers. We're fighting." True story. The referee came in the huddle and said, "Hey, what's going on? You guys, I'm going to throw a penalty on you guys in your own huddle."
What's up?
Amazing.
That's funny. No, but I love this conversation because I actually have a kid who just graduated Arizona State, and he didn't we live at Loch Lloyd.
Yeah.
We live 75 yards from the practice range, and he would never golf with me. And I had this same battle, which we all have, and it's finding this little balance. And you, of all people, how hard that must have been, right? You're a Hall of Famer. Everyone knows who you are, and people are wondering, are you going to have little crazy athletes? And it wasn't until college when he realized it's a fun place to hang out with your friends and meet new friends, right? If you think about just the value of the game, even us doing this for the past few years, the number of new friends I've made through the game, and the number,
it's the best.
And that's why I wanted him to be involved in it, but he had to wait on his clock, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. You look back and you say, God, I wish I pushed him a little more, but you never know. Parenting's hard. It's as hard as golf, for crying out loud.
Well, and a lot of his buddies and kids we know and that play in high school or didn't take it up in high school, and then they go off to college, especially this COVID thing. Drew Agnello comes to mind. Like, all the kid wants to do is play golf now. That's all he talks about. Mm-hmm. That's his passion. That's, I switched jobs. I got a new way to, now I can play more golf. And it's like, It's amazing. But Sully's right. Like, you got to discover it, and it's like, if they discover it on their own, and it's like you and I grew up, I didn't get pushed into the game. I played baseball, golf, and basketball. I'm like, wait, I think I can control my destiny a little more with golf than baseball and the others. And, so that's just why it was fun. It's fun that you can't beat. So
it's the only place in Salina, Kansas that wasn't dusty and windy. It was a golf course. It was windy, but at least it wasn't dusty. There was green grass.
Well, and it made you a really good dresser.
Amazing.
And the jury was out, living out. So you could have been the guy with the dip, inappropriately talking to princesses and.
Exactly.
What is that? Carhartt's clothing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The overalls. You could have been wearing those instead of Sansa belts and a white belt and white shoes and a golf shirt.
Remember those old Sansa belts? Those are classic. Oh my God.
I did see some pictures of you in the video. Checkered pants. You look like Johnny Miller back in the 80s.
Right?
Yeah.
God, everybody was so skinny back then too.
You
look like we were
great in those. Yeah, sorry to force you to do this, George. It doesn't seem like you're having any fun again.
What's that?
On the show.
Yeah. I love doing the show.
Sorry to force you.
I was the guest. I was the guest on their show one time, and the next week they said, "Hey, we're doing another show. Why don't you come?" And I'm going, I'm not going to ask any questions. And so I've done like how many shows in a row now?
30,
15, 20, too many.
Now his Uber driver just walked in. Big head.
There he is.
Well, I will say we missed having him at the Indian Hills event.
We did. Well, we kind of had
video.
Yeah, we had it. He was doing his duty.
Yeah, he was. All right, let's do this. Let's take one more commercial break. We come back. It's Wardo's favorite time of the Golf Underground radio podcast. It's the Emergency 9. Did you prepare, with the booster?
I've got him right here.
You got him right there?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Hey, we're having a great time on the Golf Underground, ESPN Radio. Hey, Bryan Sullivan of Golf Underground with my favorite orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Kevin Whitty from Sano Orthopedics. Hey, Doc, golf season's over. My back is killing me. I know it's football season, so you get a lot of kids coming in, blown ACLs, all sorts of body parts with problems. And then, of course, those baseball players. I know you fix a lot of elbows. Why is Sano Orthopedics the absolute best sports medicine orthopedic group in Kansas City?
Well, if you want to see the guys in town who've had the best orthopedic fellowship training in sports medicine, including training with Dr. James Andrews and Dr. Larry Lemack, come see us. We individualize patients' plans to get them back to that activity and that sport that they love. And we actually care and listen to our patients and follow up with them, make sure that they're getting the results they need.
Okay, and so the three things that separate you: number one, best training; number two, you specialize in getting people on that field; number three, you're actually listen. Where can I learn more? Because you got me all in, and I don't really want to get fixed, but it's time.
At SanoOrthopedics.com, 816-525-2840.
Hi, this is George Brett, Hall of Fame baseball player, and I've been playing golf for over 35 years. Hitting the ball far was never my problem, but the closer I got to the greens, that's when my problems began. When I wanted a golf practice area in my backyard, I called Celebrity Greens. They are the industry leader in custom-built synthetic golf greens. These championship caliber, low-maintenance greens roll great, react like real bent grass, and hold chip shots that check and spin. I absolutely love mine, not only in Kansas City, but also in Arizona. Call the pros at Celebrity Greens at 1-888-507-7960 or visit them online at celebritygreens.com. Practice like the pros or people like me that want to be pros right in your own backyard.
Hey, Bryan Sullivan, Golf Underground, with a little tip for you. If you're looking to buy a new Ford, you have to check out my buddy, Jason Gudenkoff at Lewisburg Ford. They've been saving Midwest Ford buyers thousands of bucks for over 40 years because they do business the right way. They sell everything, check this out, for $50 over invoice. That's simple and cheap. And they win a lot of awards. In fact, they won Ford's President's Award 17 times. That's the top Ford award. And they only give it to dealers with superior customer satisfaction in sales and service. So they know how to take care of customers better than anybody. Now, what these guys know how to do also, keep this in mind, sell trucks. Lewisburg Ford has sold more F-150s than any other Ford dealership in Greater Kansas City. That's 2 years running. And last year, they were the #1 F-150 sales leader in the entire state of Kansas. So, no hassle. $50 over invoice pricing, unparalleled customer satisfaction, and a huge selection. That's a perfect recipe for selling trucks. So, check out all their inventory and prices online at lewisburgford.com or give them a call at 816-444-2300.
New golf clubs, a big screen TV to watch the U.S. Open, or maybe even a new golf cart that I've got my eye on.
No matter how you choose to spend the savings, if you're looking to put a dent in your monthly heating and cooling bills, the answer may be right over your head. If your attic isn't insulated properly, you're missing out on a prime opportunity to cut costs. Call the certified energy experts at Star Companies, Inc., 816-353-2160 for a free estimate to learn how they can help you save money. 816-353-2160 or visit starcompanieskc.com.
Do you have retirement dreams about perfecting your swing and spending your time on the green? Or maybe you have a bucket list of golf courses you'd like to travel to. Whatever your financial goals are, Mariner Wealth Advisors is your advocate. We take the same care in understanding where you stand today as we do in understanding where you want to be in the future. Then, we help you set a personalized plan to help you achieve your long-term vision. Contact Mariner Wealth Advisors today to start your financial planning journey. Visit MarinerWealthAdvisors.com to find a location near you.
Mariner Wealth Advisors, otherwise known as MWA, is an SEC-registered investment advisor. Registration of an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. For additional information about MWA, including fees and services, please contact MWA or refer to the disclosures on our website. Please read the disclosure statement carefully before you invest or send money. This advertisement should not be considered investment advice or a recommendation to buy or sell securities.
You're better than the best. I'm lucky just to linger in your light. Cooler than the
Hey, welcome back, Golf Underground, ESPN Radio. George Sully and Wardo with the Nortons, the Norton duo. Champions says it's so nice. The holiday season's here. We're supposed to hang out with our kids. All right, so Wardo, please take it away. This very important segment of the program.
All right, are we ready, the Nortons, for the old rapid fire emergency 9 Sheridan's Unforked, eating good, feeling good? Are you ready?
Absolutely.
When I asked Tom Kite that, he said no. Okay, and then he rattled off some good answers.
Well, you had a Tom Kite story you were going to say. Why don't you do that real quick?
He did tell it. Listen, I made the mistake of saying, you know what, I really admired you because you wore glasses. And I thought it'd be fun. I said, because I grew up kind of a nerdy fella. I caddied, and, you know, I had the Coke bottle glasses. And I said, you inspired me. He got a little mad at me. I think he thought I was
calling him a nerd.
Calling him a nerd.
It sounds to me like you called him a nerd.
You were the king of the nerds, and I really appreciated that. And, of course, he busts right into, well, you know, I did get LASIK surgery. And, you know, it improved my vision by 0.9 negative. And he goes in also, Wardo and I kicking around the table like, speaking of jackasses,
you're soaping a can
you
of
make
worms
Nick Faldo
there.
look like he belongs on American Idol.
When you said that really fast, you know, I had LASIK surgery. I thought you said, you know, I didn't get laid till I was 12 or to 22.
That's your ears going at 68, George.
You know, I got LASIK. You know, I had LASIK. No, I didn't get laid.
That's your hearing aid ringing. All right, here we go. Are you ready? All right, Bryan, the best, excluding Sevy, the best short game you've ever seen. Who?
Oh, Ben Crenshaw.
Awesome.
Played with him twice.
The most impressive ball striker you've played with?
Tom Watson.
Okay.
And this was years ago, so it was 91. So close second is Nick Faldo.
This is a two-part question for both family members. If you could go out anywhere in the globe or U.S., where would you go? One night out to have a good night.
Man, why not now down next to Seminole where there's all those pretty ladies?
I like it.
Bob Kraft
That's
where Bob Kraft got in trouble too. By the way. By the way, I was curious when
your shoulder a little tight.
When you said you weren't allowed. You weren't allowed back in Seminole, and you never finished.
Hey, this is
did
my
you
time.
burn? What did you burn up another trash?
It was
can?
funny. The first night, the very first time I took Johnny to Seminole, we went to dinner at a place called the Palm Beach Grill, and this 75-year-old man walked in with this 35-year-old really attractive woman. Johnny said, "Do you think they're married?"
Life lessons.
So I don't think so.
Okay, I got to make one quick comment. I got one quick comment about Seminole.
Yeah.
Did you know he also won the Coleman Cup at Seminole, which is the members club championship?
No, it's so it's just a national event where they invite the best mid-ams and the best senior ams in the country.
Wow.
And you won it. And you had a 3-footer to win it, and you said if I missed it, it was going to be off the green.
It was because there were 3 guys.
Yeah, I
one
remember
stroke
you
behind.
telling me the story.
I'm like, I'm smashing this thing because I'm going to lose the playoff if it goes to a playoff.
So you went for 2, huh?
I did. I smashed
On the
it.
goal
Went
line?
right in the middle. Thank God. It was downhill. It's like I could just try to drip it in there or just smoke it. I smoked it.
Amazing. All right. Best golf course in the world you've played?
Okay. People ask that question. So Turtle looked her best on the wedding night, right? And a golf course looks its best at a major championship. I mean, it is perfect. And so the old course for the 1990 Open Championship was just my favorite experience. Everything was perfect.
I love it. Johnny, what do you got?
There's so many courses I haven't been able to play. Yet. We've had plans to kind of maybe go over to Europe. I'd probably say something like St. Andrews, just because it's maybe the most iconic and kind of where it's all started. Obviously, you want to play Augusta at some point in Pine Valley, but somewhere over in Europe like that, like St. Andrews.
Love it.
So when Johnny was 16, we did a guys' spring break trip, and so we flew to and played in Carmel 3 rounds. We played Cypress, Pebble, and Monterey Peninsula, and then we flew to LA and we played Riviera, LACC, and Lakeside.
Wow!
We played like 5 top 25s in 6 rounds.
That's unbelievable.
4 top 25s. It was awesome.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
Johnny, you're so
We had
spoiled.
so much fun. The poor guy, though, he had to put up with me for 6 straight days. Like just 2 of us, and at that age, that's kind of hard.
Hey, did he coach you on that trip?
Always admire.
He did not.
I think he earned the right to do whatever the hell he wanted at taking you on that trip.
Yeah, that was a for fun. Like, it was right before high school golf started. It was kind of a tune-up, but just also, the weather wasn't impeccable. Obviously, like when we played Pebble, it was 55 degrees maybe. It was a nice day, but it was really cold. And so, yeah, it was really cool being able to go to some of those iconic courses like Pebble and Cypress, and just kind of gave a little spotlight on like what he was doing
that's awesome.
when he was young, and so it was really, really cool to
Obviously, through your golf contacts, members of all the places. You called them up and said, "Hey, here's what I'm thinking on doing. Can we go play there? Can we play here?"
Yeah.
And oh my God,
What a nice luxury.
We bailed on Olympic. We had Olympic and bailed on it.
That was in the bullpen.
Last minute we got into Cypress because of David Preston.
right? Okay,
He got us on Cypress last
I
minute.
played there about 2 months ago. Wind was blowing 50 miles an hour. No one in my group had a par the last 7 holes because you're always into the wind or crosswind.
Right.
It was ridiculous.
Turn
It was
around, you go
ridiculous.
straight.
It was ridiculous.
Amazing. All right, the 7th hole. Bryan, if you had to say, what is your number 1 feat on the profession as a professional, and then hole 8, give me your number 1 accomplishment as an amateur? And I know there's a lot, but if you could pick one.
Yeah, so I'll work backwards. As an amateur, they're like, it's a dead heat. Winning the Kansas Am at age 55 and beating a 20-year-old in the quarters, a 19-year-old Chase Hanna in the semis, and then an 18-year-old Sam Stevens in the finals. But also finishing 19th in the Senior Open in 2009 as just a working stiff and playing with Irwin on both Saturday and Sunday. Like those are nip and tuck. Those are really cool. And then my favorite memory from pro golf, even though it wasn't my best finish, I finished, I think, 30th in the Open Championship that year, and I played with Crenshaw the final round, and every minute of that tournament, and Bob Kennedy was on the bag. It just is like magical to me. And so I had better finishes, but that was my best finish in a regular major, and so it's just like my favorite memory.
That's awesome. This is going to be a little bit longer answer. I've been wanting to ask this one today is, all right, what advice do you have for the quote unquote working stiff that's trying to chase family, career, and then obviously all the things you did on the golf course? Like how did you do it? And what advice would you give that next person that's going to come along?
Man, for me, I was just so lucky. I had a job that allows me to play golf. I lived 5 minutes from the office and 5 minutes from the golf course. And so I had a wife that was totally willing to let me be gone from time to time. And so it was just like, there's a lot of things that factor into all that, and I had all this experience of playing pro golf. And so I could very quickly adjust to situations, and I didn't have to prepare the way normally you'd have to prepare if you hadn't had all that experience. And so, but if I could give people any tip, it would be to work on their fitness. It's a fitness game, and I see guys who don't work on their fitness and they end up with injury problems. And so if there's one thing that anybody can do, it's to work hard on that aspect of it. Don't just spend all your time hitting balls. Work on your fitness part too, because that's a huge part of it.
That's funny.
Where do you recommend that they work on their fitness?
Well, I think the golf stable right here, baby.
Golfstable.com.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was texting with a dad earlier, and I said, make sure so-and-so stretches, he's going to be a little sore. Well, he's not going to stretch. And I'm like, well, we might have a short relationship then. or your son's going to be hurt. One of the two. Yeah. So
he's wasting his time and your money.
Yep.
If he's not going to stretch.
It's just a giant part of the game now.
Oh,
you got to do it. And if you're going to have any longevity, you got to do it too.
Yeah. Well,
was that it? Did we hit the ninth hole?
That's all I got.
Awesome.
Jeez, I usually like to play
59 minutes and 40 seconds.
Well, wait.
We got 20 seconds. You got 20 seconds
to just show up for these things.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
It's so fun.
It is.
It's awesome.
George, where are you going to dinner?
We're getting Fred next, I think. Fred Couples. Fred's going to come on.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
We've had Jim Rome on. How about Jim Rome came on?
Of my first college golf tournament, I played with Fred.
No.
Yeah, Fred and Russ Cochran.
Yeah.
That was my pick. Russ went to
Paducah,
Kentucky. Yep.
Was Freddie's swing the same as it was?
It was exactly the same. It was so long, and back then he hit duck hooks. Obviously that changed because he's always been a fader. But when he learned how to fade it is when he became really good.
Did Freddie always, when he was hitting hooks back then, was he open with his stance?
No.
And he was way closed?
Yeah. He was square. A hair closed, super long, Daly-esque long backswing.
Oh, yeah, the swing itself.
Wow, how's he ever going to control that? 2 years later, he was setting the world on fire. Junior year of college, he was so good.
That's why he has back problems, though, that swing, right?
Well, George was just hanging out with them in Phoenix.
Yeah, he played good. He can't practice.
He can't practice.
But round's over, he gets loose, and he goes plays. He
hadn't picked up a club. A big practice.
No, he hadn't picked up a club in 6 weeks, and then he goes out and shoots 5 under in Phoenix Country Club.
Yeah.
I followed him every shot. It was unbelievable.
He still can pound it.
Yeah.
He's still so good.
Yeah.
Love him. He was so entertaining to play golf with. I remember played at the NCAA my junior year. He and I played Jody Mudd and Clarence Rose in the old East-West matches. And Jody Mudd was so freaking good. And Fred, I knew who Jody Mudd was, but Fred doesn't pay attention to anything. He had no idea who Jody Mudd was. And Jody Mudd single-handedly was kicking our ass.
Amazing.
And after about 6 holes, Fred just stood right in front of him and said, "Who the fuck are you?" It was like you'd seen Superman. You didn't know Superman existed.
I love it.
Fred was good. Fred ended up 5th in that NCAA. He beat Jody. But Jody and Clarence beat us in that match. Jody was just, he hit every shot perfect. I was like, fuck.
Amazing.
All right, well, so you'll come back and join us again, right? Family? Right?
Yeah.
Come back and join us again.
I'd do it in a heartbeat.
That's right.
Especially if Johnny
There you got
shows.
Johnny.
George and I are we're dads. If
So
our
no
boys are
joke.
there, we're
Yes.
gonna be
So no joke. Tom Kite goes, I go, how much? I go, normally these take an hour, which it took 40 minutes, whatever. He goes, I go, how much time you got? He goes, 20 minutes. We go 45 easy. And I was like, I don't know, once you get going on this stuff, it's fun. So fun.
Yeah, even nerds stay on longer than they should. Right? All right, well, listen, George, you have a big dinner to go to.
I got a dinner date.
All right, dinner date. Listen, come on back next week. Freddie Couples, Golf Underground, ESPN Radio.
Coming up, you got
I'm waking up to ash and dust. I wipe my brow and I sweat my rust.